Hello, and welcome to another edition of Believe TV. My name is Bruce Sampson, and I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining, whether you're watching live or on replay. It's all good. I thank you nonetheless for taking out time from your busy schedule, or maybe your relaxing time to share with me during this time. Thank you very, very much. I want to say hello to the folks who are already tuning in and saying hi. My good friend over in Hamburg, Germany, uh, Miss Karen. Hey, good to see you too. Big hugs to you as well. All right, thank you so much. You inspired me to do this because, as I mentioned before, there are times when I I personally enjoy doing this program more when I have guests on screen with me to interview. Like that's when it's really fun for me. And I go through this thing where if I don't have a guest, even if I have a topic, I sometimes question myself and say, well, is that something anyone wants to hear? And so um, sometimes that will be a reason for me not to do a show. and uh, but more recently, it's just been because I've just had other things going on, a lot of um, other projects, several of which I've actually mentioned before. As we get ready for the summer and the summer camps that I'm involved with, our Believe camps, and then also I've mentioned um, the Young American summer camps that are going to be going on up in northern Michigan. And so getting all that stuff together it's taking a lot of time, including a lot of travel and a lot of preparation time, which is kind of taking me away from doing these as regularly as I had been doing them. So thank you for sticking in there with me for those who have, um, and and I hope you enjoy this program. So today's program, it's kind of split in two because I had two different thoughts that I things that I've been thinking about based on things that I've been reading, conversations I've been having, and then documentaries and different programs that I've been watching. And and I thought I would just go ahead and share them with you. Um, but if you are tuning in, feel free to comment below. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and leave a comment. Even if it's just to say hi, I'm watching in San Francisco, or hey, I'm, wherever. Just always like nice to know who's out there and where you are. Is always a nice thing. So again, my name is Bruce Sampson, and I am your host. And uh, actually, I could put that up there. There we go. Haven't done that in a while. But anyway, you all know who I am, so I'm going to take that off. Anyway, so thank you guys for tuning in. So the topic today is twofold, but they're kind of linked together. And it's just be nice. And the, oh, hey. Also, Miss Renita, thank you so much. Good evening to you as well. Thank you for joining. I really, really appreciate it. So just be nice. And uh, the thank you. And the other half of it is what we accept. So that sounds a little strange. So I'm going to start with that one first. What we accept. So as I've been watching a lot of different programs dealing with a range of different subjects, from um, all the different things and the ways that Americans have handled the pandemic versus how the rest of the world handles it, um, or just even within the United States, just the different parts and segments, different families, different neighborhoods, different streets. People have different opinions about this pandemic that we've gone through and what we've dealt with in 2020. And then there's all this other range of stuff and different things that have come out in 2020, and how split and fragmented we seem to be as a nation. And um, in any number of things. And what I found interesting in examining all of it is how often people are interviewed and have opinions and that are, founded in their feelings and in their emotions, but sometimes not really rooted in fact necessarily. But they think it is because you know the old phrase, perception is reality. Well, so if you don't know that, let me explain. So, perception, how you perceive something, even if it's not truly reality, how you perceive it is reality for you. It most definitely is for you. So, there are times when you can, because have you ever had a conversation with someone or a discussion or an argument or something, and you're talking about a particular topic or a debate or whatever, and uh, you both saw the same thing, and each of you have a different opinion on what you just saw. Like, wait a minute, how could you just watch that and not get the same thing that I got from it? Because my lived experience and my perception of that is different than yours. So I found it interesting. So getting more to the point of what we accept. What I really mean by that is talking about um, okay, let's start it here. So I've talked about this before, especially with regard to my Unity project, right? Um, and the efforts. Those of you who've watched this for a long time know that over the last couple of years, I've done this thing called Unity, where I've done it both through Zoom and online, but also in person in my hometown, where I've invited a diverse group of people together just to sit down and have conversations, and just to show that it's possible to have conversations without, that we can disagree without being disagreeable, right? And to demonstrate that, and to show that we can also learn from each other in the process. Because if I can understand your perception, how you perceive things that are happening, well, then that will better inform how I interact with you and deal with you, or even how I approach my view of things that are happening. If I have a better understanding of you, rather than shutting you out and calling you stupid or dumb or whatever, that's not going to get us anywhere. But if I can actually listen to you, actually hear what you have to say, then at that point, I can absorb that, take that in, and say, oh, I can see where you're coming from. But did you know that there's this information you don't have? So let me share that with you. And maybe that will change things for you, right? Maybe it won't. But at least let me give you this other piece of information which I think you don't have, or vice versa, right? So um that's kind of where I'm starting from in terms of um there are these things that we, again, it's the perception, right? We perceive things differently, and that's okay. That's actually a beautiful thing. It used to be something we celebrated, but we're living through an era right now where that's been flipped. We no longer celebrate the differences. We no longer embrace those and go, oh, that's interesting, that comes from that country or that culture. Oh, I'd love to try that, that would be great. Now it becomes, that's from that country, that culture, and we reject it out of hand before knowing anything else about it, right? And while there's probably always been some degree of that, it's very clearly in the last decade or so, it's been ramping up, right? And please understand, if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm not trying to do a political show. That's not the issue. My goal always is bringing people together, is having conversations and embracing what's possible. And for me, what's possible is unity, is togetherness, is love, is peace, all of that. But what's so interesting to me is, as I look at some of the things that we disagree, the different subjects that we disagree on, and the different um, places where we, kind of butt heads with one another, right? What's interesting about some of those things is usually in some of those situations, I'm going to give examples like the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, and other situations, right? The issues with the attack on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So all of those things. So what's interesting to me, I just find it fascinating that when any group of people steps forward and says, "I'm feeling pain, I've been hurt," that the reaction is, I the reaction is amazing to me, that the reaction is, you shouldn't be allowed to feel that way. You're not allowed to feel that way. Like, whoa, hold up. you know, like, I'm just telling you that I'm in pain. I'm hurt. And when I think the more productive response is, explain to me what you're going through, because I clearly am not aware of it. But somehow your pain is an attack on me, right? So and we've all seen this, right? Where people listen to, like, someone else says, "I'm feeling pain, and here's why." Nope. You're not. No, you're not. When the response is no, and it's an attack on me that you said you feel pain. Wow. So now you've put people in a position where they either just suck it all up and go, "Okay, I'll just continue to accept that pain because I don't want you to attack me and make it worse," or to fight back, to get to a place where they feel hopeless and helpless, to where there's no other options for me but to push forward and fight. So that's some of the stuff. Let me acknowledge some of my guests and see what they're saying. Um, so Miss Connie, if I can get this thing to come up. Hugs, Mr. Bruce Hampton. I'm going through a lot, and you were touching the subject, and you were explaining exactly what I am not understood when I say we are all so different. Yeah. Well, bless you. Thank you. And I hope whatever I'm saying, I hope that it's somewhat helpful in some way. Um, all of these discussions really are just coming from a place of, let me just share with you where I'm coming from and the things that I've learned, because in what I have learned in my old age now is that there's so many times when I have not spoken up, assuming that people already understand my point of view, that they've already thought that through. And then what I found out over the years is that that's not always the case. That sometimes my point of view, my words, or the way that I express it will then make people at least go, I hadn't thought of it that way. That's interesting. And that's enough. That's enough. Right. And so that's part of the reason for this program in the first place is to do that, is to express those feelings, to give you something else to think about. And in the process, therapeutic for me to let me express those things and to hear what other people have to say as well, because that can also color how I then proceed from this point on. Let's see, we also have my good friend, Mr. Rick Henninger. Hi, Bruce. I don't know if I always agree with you with what you have to say, but I do always love the way you say it. I think this perspective you have on the differences between people and groups is inspiring. Please keep it up. Love you to death, man. But what you're saying right there, I think that's always been true, and that says to me, our relationship, for instance, our friendship, is a perfect example of that. It's like, we don't have to agree on everything. I don't necessarily agree with everything you say, but I have the utmost respect for you. And there's so many times that I've held an opinion on something and you've shared your position that made me go, "Oh, that I had not considered. I had not factored that part of it into the equation. I wasn't aware of that aspect." And but that's where all that's what I'm saying about conversation. When we can stop pointing fingers at each other and calling each other names and insulting each other, and just having a conversation and looking at each of these opportunities that we disagree or whatever it is as an opportunity to learn and grow, right? Even if it's just me learning and growing, learning about you and how you see something, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change my mind or my position, but it's still helpful. When we shut each other out, when we shut down the discussion, we go nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And Rick, thank you so much um, for watching. I didn't know you watched the program, so thank you very much for being here. It's my real good friend Rick Henniger. Um, so good to hear from you. And again, if you're watching this live or on replay, thank you again for your time and for your energy and for your feedback. It really means a lot to me. At the end of the day, that's all I want is love. And I know that it's possible because I've seen it. And I just gave you an example with my friend Rick here, who, yeah, we didn't always agree. And we most certainly had arguments and all of that, but I love him like a brother, and I feel that he loves me like a brother as well, right? Despite whatever negativity has entered our lives or disagreements have entered our lives, whatever, we can still find a way to coexist and to live and to put an emphasis on the positive things, the areas where we do agree, as opposed to making the sole disagreement or the sole area of disenchantment or whatever it is to be the determining factor of our relationship that says, let's shut it all down because we don't agree on that one point. Well, that seems a lot like what's the old phrase? Throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, well, that's kind of not productive. So, but that's the thing. So, but going back to what you accept. So, the reason I brought that up, and I kind of touched on it already, but the reason I chose those words because as I was watching these different programs and some of the different things I've read, one of the things that was left out of the discussion is what we accept and what different groups of people have accepted for a long time. So for people who enjoy the status quo, however things are going, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I'm just saying how things are, whatever they are or how they have been. If you are someone that has benefited or at least has not been adversely affected by the way things are, then for the most part, you're like, life is okay, life's good. But there is realistically a segment of people who that's not the case. And it's really easy to just go, well, they're lazy, they haven't tried, or or to label them ignorant or whatever it is. When in fact, it's probably a lot more complex than that. Because if each of us looks at our lives, I don't think any of us would want to be labeled as one thing and say, well, that's who you are, that's what you are, is this thing, this idea. It's like, no, I'm much more complex than that. Right? You can't just label me as one thing and say, well, that's all he is. Like, no, I'm a lot more than that. I'm a lot more complex than that. And for those of us who are people of faith, especially the Christian faith, we believe that we are beautifully and wonderfully made by an incredible creator, right? And so you are diminishing his work by saying that that's all I am, or that's all that person is. It's like, no. That's not the case. And so what I want people to kind of get from this is understand that when a certain group of people, whoever it is, whether it's kids or whether it's women or whether it's African Americans or whether it's Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, whoever it happens to be, whether it's Muslims or whether it's Mexicans, whatever, right? Whatever group of people, suddenly speak up. When they speak up, well, to the people who think everything's good, I'd say, whoa, 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 where did that come from? So it's important for the people who are speaking up to understand that the moment you speak up, it's going to disrupt some things, and it's going to and change, and the notion of change is always met with resistance. Always, always met with resistance. Anytime there's a suggestion of change, resistance comes up to meet it and go, nope, and especially those who are doing all right. Life's good, like, yeah, life's good. Well, of course I'm going to resist you trying to change things, because wait, things are good. Why? And especially if I compound that thought with, the only reason it's not good for you is because you're lazy, or because you're ignorant, or because you lack this or you lack that, right? But that in and of itself is lazy. To just, with a broad stroke, broad brush, just go, well, that's what you all are, right? And I just said it. We are all complex beings and individuals and groups of people. And so instead of striking out, perhaps there's what about this is a novel idea, that we actually stop for a second and try to hear what they're saying and understand that whatever it is, it's coming from a place of pain. It's coming from a place of hurt and a feeling and perception of disadvantage. Even if you don't understand it, even if you don't see it, it is for them. Perception is reality. So if they see it, they feel it, it's real. And so the way we arrive at compromise, or the way we arrive at unity, how we get there, has to involve listening and trying to really understand. And I've talked about this a lot before, the whole notion of, are we truly listening? Or are we just waiting for you to finish talking so I can tell you why you're wrong and what you should be doing? And that's the key, because too often that's not the case. And if you watch a lot of these shows, these talking head shows that call themselves news, that's not news, on cable news channels and stuff, that these people are talking heads, a lot of the time they're presenting their point of view, and what they generally are doing, even when they have guests on, especially when they have supposedly opposing guests, a guest on with an opposing viewpoint, the whole thing is designed for them to tear them down. So one, they will generally choose someone that they feel they can destroy, that they feel they can beat up on. Secondly, they will do the whole thing where they talk over them. So when the person starts to talk, they shut them off. Oh, no. They're starting to make a point, and that point may be perceived by the audience as valid. So I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to loud talk you and shut you off. And my people in the control booth know to turn off your mic when I go off on my tangent, and maybe even take you off camera, right? So, but we fall into that trap of that theater that's happening in front of us, as opposed to saying, wait a minute, why are they trying to shut them down? I want to hear what they have to say. And that's why I'm one of those people who, I've done it less in recent months, but historically, I've been one of those people who flips stations with regard to the news. So I'm flipping around. I'm watching CNN, MSNBC, Fox. Every once in a while, I'll tune into OAN and other networks, and see what people are saying, because there are times when, on the surface of it, it seems like this faction over here sounds crazy to me. Just sounds crazy, and especially if I'm listening to a particular voice that keeps saying they're crazy. I'm like, yeah, they sound kind of crazy. But if I can actually listen to them and hear their point of view, oh, okay, now it's not crazy. I get why you feel that way. I understand it now. I may disagree. I may completely change my point of view, But I may also just simply say, oh, now I understand you. Where you're coming from is actually logical. Because if you perceive something and you believe that that's what's actually happening, then what you're doing makes all the sense in the world. What you're saying actually is the only reasonable reaction to it, right? Um, but we have to get to that point where we can hear each other and then truly hear each other and then have a conversation. I don't need to attack you, right? In fact, I can tell you this, and this has happened to me recently, that I've actually been in situations where I walked away because I knew that it wasn't going to be a productive conversation. That the idea that I wanted to share a thought with them was just met with this vitriol and this attacking. Okay, clearly we're not going to get anywhere today. So I'm just going to go, love you, brother. Hope you have a great day. I'm out, and go on about my business because it's a waste of time. And all it's going to do is upset me and raise my blood pressure and all that. And that's not good for me. So, and we're not going to get anywhere because you're not ready yet to have the conversation, right? Even if I want to listen to you and I say to you, hey, I just want to listen to you. There's a couple of friends of mine that have taken some positions that I disagree with, that I have reached out to and said, hey, I would love to have a conversation about this thing, this topic. Let me know when we can do that. I'd love to, just two of us. I don't want it to be a public thing. I don't need to, make it some weird thing. And it's because I want to learn. I want to understand where you're coming from. And then perhaps I might be in a position to share some things with you and give you a different perspective. So, but it's got to go both ways. And so coming back to the what we accept thing, part of it. So what I found interesting about all of that is that whole notion of, and we can look back through time and we can see the evolution of different, let's just call them social changes that have happened over the years, that we can look back now and for the most part agree on and say that should have happened. That change was necessary. Wow, those people weren't treated fairly. Wow, those laws were prohibitive and whatever, right, and damaging. We can look at any number of things like that, right? And there's certainly a few that we can all possibly agree on. Most of us can agree on, right? So the question for me then became, and where I got this whole thing of what we accept, what you accept, is the notion that the people who are going through that experience, and sometimes generations of people, right, who will be in this bad situation, but they won't, but they just accept it, knowing full well that the opposition is wrong, knowing full well that if the situation were reversed, it wouldn't be accepted by those people. And I think that the calculation always must be, this is my assumption, that the calculation must be for each of those people, putting on the scale and weighing what's going to cause me more pain, or my family, or what's going to take away opportunity for jobs, or for me to be safe and my family to be safe, or opportunities for my kids to get an education and grow, or whatever it is, that the calculation becomes that the risk of losing something is too great. And so then when people step forward, even when they do the most innocent and innocuous of protests, that it's still met with anger and vitriol and how dare you. Wow. All I said was, I'm in pain. But somehow that hurt you so much. You're so offended that I'm in pain. That's deep, man. Like, that's deep. And that's what got me thinking about this whole thing of what we accept. And what 2020 did in a lot of ways was to open up, to lay bare a lot of people's pain. And for the first time, a lot of us were just not in our usual busy go, 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 go. We're all at home. We're all watching TV. We're all on the internet. Because for a long stretch, well, I hate using this term, but lockdown. Okay. We're never officially on lockdown. People use that term all the time. That's not what it was. Talk about fragility. That's American fragility. There's so many things that like we get so freaked out over, and it's like, why are you freaking out over that? Like, and I've talked about this before, and I don't mean to make fun, and that, because that flies in the face of everything I'm trying to say, but I just want to give you the example because I talked about this before. Wearing a mask. We had people that freaked out to the point of, because they were told that you should all wear a mask for safety's sake. We believe this will keep you safe. That turned into a political argument of you're taking away my rights, to the point where people showed up in military gear and armed with weapons to go after their local and state government because they were so offended at the notion of having to wear a mask in public. Now, I can understand from their perspective. Again, it's about perspective. So I get where you're coming from. And if in your position, you've never dealt with that before, and this is odd and this is strange, and you don't even believe it's real, and whatever. Okay, so if that's your perspective, then I get why you feel that way. However, when you're a person like myself, who has spent any number of years over the last decade or more traveling to Asian countries, where that's kind of standard practice. You see people walk around with masks all the time. And that was long before any pandemics. Just like, oh, I have a cold, or I have the flu, or whatever it is, and I don't want to spread it to other people. So they wear a mask. Get on the subway or the train to go places, and there will almost always inevitably be some people on who have masks on. Don't even think about it. And so when that mandate came down, it didn't faze me at all. At all. I went, oh, okay, makes sense. But for someone who had never experienced that, for some, not all, some people just went, oh, okay. Well, if you say that'll keep us safe, then, or help keep us safe, then yeah, let's do that. But yet others who reacted violently and with great vitriol. It's like, okay. Again, I get where you're coming from. From your perspective, I understand it. But you didn't have the information that I had. You didn't have the experience that I had. And so, is it too much to ask that we flip that so that you think to yourself for a second that just maybe I don't know it all? Just maybe there might be another perspective. Just maybe there might be a legit reason that you feel that way. There might be a rational, real reason that you're upset, that you feel pain, that you are marching in the streets, that you are taking a knee, that you are wearing that t-shirt, whatever it happens to be, right? There may be a legit reason. So instead of me attacking you, how about we sit down and say, well, hey, what's going on? Clearly you're upset. Help me understand it, right? And at the very least, it diffuses the situation to the point where, and I've said this over and over again, especially as a youth advocate, that what we all ultimately want is to be heard, to be loved, to be heard, to be valued. And what happens when we don't get those things is that's when the riots happen. That's when people rise up. That's when people get upset and protest and do other things. It's not coming out of nowhere. It's coming from somewhere. Now, again, I'm not saying in all cases that they're valid, because even they may be missing something, right? They may be missing something in the scenario. But instead of calling them names, instead of saying you're not a patriot or you're not a this or you're not a that, maybe we stop and just say, well, tell me why you're feeling that way. What's going on that makes you feel that way? Oh, okay, great. I see where you're coming from. Now, let me explain to you what that actually is and kind of the history behind that. Let me explain to you why you can reasonably, with the assistance of your own health provider, accept the vaccine. Oh, well, I've had friends say to me very recently, well, that was way too fast. They came up with that thing way too fast. Well, and I get that point. And I would think that also, if I also didn't know and hadn't heard medical professionals say that, no, what you have to understand is that there are different types of COVID that have pre-existed the COVID-19 that we're experiencing, right? And the variants that we're experiencing right now. And that there was already work being done on those. And so they were already far along when this one came along and said, oh, okay, so we can take the work we've already done and we can add on to that. It's like, for instance, and this is not going to be a great analogy, but like, think about automobiles, right? So if we stopped at the jalopies or whatever it was that came along, a long time ago, it's like, if all of a sudden someone came out, with a different type of car, a different type of engine, or what have you, it would seem like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's kind of out of nowhere. Well, no, it's not. There'd already been work done and research done and all of this stuff up to a certain point that you could then take advantage of that information you now have and say, oh, I can use this and then keep moving forward. So I don't have to start back at square one, because these people have already done all the work. And that's what we sometimes miss. And so I don't think people are stupid or whatever names that we often call each other when we don't have all the information and we disagree. Because most of the time I attempt to at least stop for a second and say, well, wait a minute. Why do they feel that way? Oh, I get where you're coming from. And sometimes I have a very simple answer for that. Like, oh, you just don't know this part. Because if you knew this part, it probably wouldn't bother you, right? And it's the willingness to have those conversations, to first listen, and then to have a conversation without attacking the other person. So anyway, so the point is that I hope you understand now why I talked about that part of it, of the, what we accept, what you accept, right? So certain people have made a calculation over a period of time of like, oh, okay, look, I just want peace. I just want to, not have issues. So I want to protect my family. So I'm going to do what I need to do for that. But then there comes a point when it's no longer tolerable. I can no longer tolerate these conditions in this situation. And so I must speak out. I must do something, right? And so anyway, so that was just a thought process for me, and something I'm still thinking about. And how Hi, Miss Renee. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening. Congratulations to my boy Kyle. Hey, hey, hey. Um, so there's that. Then the other half of it is just be nice. It is so funny to me that that seems to be so foreign to so many people. Just be nice. Like, why is it so hard in this day and age to just be nice? Okay, so I don't agree with you. I I don't like your point of view. I disagree with it. I can still be nice. There's no real reason for me to attack you, to be mean to you, to denigrate you in some form or fashion. Can I just be nice? And I know if we all begin to adopt that point of view of just being nice, so there's no real reason for me. Like, even when people say, like, I can't tell you how many times I've had in my lifetime, and you'd be surprised how recently um, I've had people say things to me that are just straight up racist or rude or denigrating to my faith, or whatever it is, right? I can still be nice because your point of view, unless you're being violent or threatening me in some way, or the people I love, or whatever in some way, then your point of view isn't going to change anything about who I am and what I do with my life. So there's no need for me to attack you. I can still just be nice. And sometimes you will be amazed at how that in and of itself will get people to stop and go, because it will bug them so much. It'll bug them so much. Like, why didn't they fight back? They're wanting a fight. Well, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm just going to be nice. You know, now you may push me to a point where, like, if you lay your hands on me, that's a whole different issue. And I'm not advocating violence in any form or fashion. But um, but in most cases, if you just say something to me, regardless of what it is, it one informs me who you are and how you think, and it lets me know immediately whether or not you're sadly worth my time and energy. You may not be, because if you espouse ignorance towards me and say something that's completely unwarranted, I haven't done anything to you, I haven't said anything to you, that just my existence is somehow offensive to you, so you choose to say something about me or treat me in a particular manner or treat me disrespectfully, that tells me a lot. Tells me a lot about who you are, right? Um, Sometimes I will respond, but rarely will I respond in kind. Meaning, if you are rude to me and call me a name, it's it's actually rare for me to then strike back and do the same thing to you. Now, I may go to a friend or a family member and refer to you as a name because I'm upset and because I I just want to get that out. But to you, I probably won't do that. And I'm just saying that's just me. I probably won't do that. I Depending on my mood, I will respond in any number of ways. One could be laughter, because I've definitely done that as well. So, like, someone will say something rude to me and I'll just laugh because that's just ignorance. That's just ignorance. So I just laugh and walk away, or smile and go, you have a blessed day, and go on about my business, knowing that that's going to bug them way more than if I fought, because that's what they're expecting. That's what they're wanting. They're wanting to fight back so they can try to prove their point, whatever it is, right? If they have one. But no, I'll just smile and God bless you. Just, God, that's your child. Good luck with that, you know, but I'm not taking the bait. So just be nice. Just be nice. And in everything, why can't we just be nice? I've been in situations recently where I was just amazed at the level of adults who I can only assume are actually nice people, but feel the need to lash out. That just in normal conversation, it comes across as like, oh, mm, sorry you're having a bad day. Like, what's that about? We were just having a conversation. Why are you being so defensive and angry and all of that? To me, the best way to diffuse that is with love and kindness. Just be nice. And so I'm just going to throw that out there as the thought that, I've talked about this before, that, especially with the unity things, that we can all do better. We can always do better. All of us. Even if you're Mother Teresa, you can always do better. You know what I mean? Like, whoever you are, whatever things going on, because we're human. Again, I say we're complex creatures that fluctuate in emotion and reactions and everything. So we can always be better. We can always do better. And so as part of that, I guess I'm just saying, just be nice. So anyway, thank you for your time today. Again, whether you're watching live or on replay, I thank you for being here and taking time out of your schedule to listen to me. And I would love to hear your feedback. So continue to write things in the comments, and let me know what you're thinking and feeling. But again, thank you all so much, to Miss Karen, to Miss Renita, to Miss Connie, to my friend Rich, Miss Renee, all of you who are watching this. Thank you so much, and see you guys. Oh, actually, before I go, I would be totally remiss if I didn't at least again mention. I think I can put this on screen. Let's see if it will let me do it. Show. Okay, so does that work? There we go. My mouse is being weird. Like I have to click it harder. So Believe camps we're back. So we're doing 3 back-to-back camps, 3 weeks back-to-back, starting in July. July 5th will be in my hometown of Bogalusa. So all of you in Washington Parish and surrounding areas, come on in and get signed up. We will be limiting the number of people so that per age group. So I encourage you to sign up as soon as possible. And I also want to make sure that you know and spread the word and let people know, because we always have, especially in Bogalusa, we have not necessarily the majority, but probably half the people who attend the camp, they don't sign up in advance. They just show up that day, the day of, the first day. And that's not going to work this time. You're going to have to do it in advance. You're going to have to register in advance, for a number of reasons. We just can't have that. So based on COVID restrictions and safety precautions that we want to take, because that is always first and foremost when we're dealing with kids, is we want the kids and our staff and volunteers to be safe, to be as safe as possible. So yeah, so anyway, so let them know that they need to go online to BelieveCamp.com and register. So July 5th through 9th will be in Bogalusa. Then we will go to Gallman, Mississippi. That's in Copiah County, July 12th through the 16th. And then we finish off in Slidell, Louisiana, July 19th through the 23rd. But go to BelieveCamp.com and get signed up. And reach out to us either by email or by phone. You can go to our website and get all our contact information, and reach out and let me know if you want to be involved either as an adult chaperone who wants to come in and help facilitate, or you want to sponsor some kids. That's always welcome. Or you want to contribute in some other way. We really do count on the community being involved wherever we go, because we keep our prices so low that, like, we just, if we get our bare minimum of numbers, which it's being restricted this year, we just squeak through where it doesn't cost us to do it. And so I'd appreciate that very much if you didn't make it cost me to do this for these different communities and for these kids. So we definitely appreciate the donations and the contributions and the food help and the housing help and all of that stuff, because that helps us to get through there and be able to do what we do and to bring in these outstanding young professionals from Los Angeles and New York and where else do we have people coming from? Nebraska and Atlanta. So we have folks coming in from all over to participate. So again, we appreciate your support in any way you can, but just reach out and let me know, or just leave a comment in the fields below here, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you and to get back with you. Okay, thank you all. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed week. And remember, embrace the possible, believe in yourself, believe in each other, and just be nice. Okay? And if you catch me not being nice, remind me to just be nice. Okay? Thank you all so much, and we will see you all next time.